Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the ExactTarget App Theater webinar series, Discover Critical Email Marketing Insights with the Power of Tableau. I'm Nicole Del Mastro, your moderator for today. And before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items and give you a quick tour of your console so that you know how to participate in today's event. Please use the chat box to submit your questions to today's presenter. We will collect your questions and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's webinar. You can also use this box if you're having any technical issues, and we'll get you back on track. If you're following along on Twitter today, you may tweet us your questions using the hashtag #ETWebinar. Lastly, please don't worry about taking any notes and possibly missing anything. This webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a follow-up email tomorrow with a link to view the recording. App Theater is an ongoing webinar series featuring Hub Exchange partners who will give you insight into their app with a quick 20-minute demo. If you'd like to attend more virtual app theaters like this one, you can do so by visiting exacttarget.com/apptheater. If you're not yet familiar with the Hub Exchange, it is ExactTarget's app marketplace built by marketers for marketers, making it easy to find, install, and begin using apps built by ExactTarget and our ecosystem of marketing technology providers. It's as easy as drag and drop to install apps for your instance of the Marketing Cloud. And because all apps fully integrate with the ExactTarget Marketing Cloud, you can maximize your ExactTarget investment by managing all of your cross-channel marketing campaigns together in one place to solve unique marketing challenges. Today I'd like to introduce you to my friends at ClickMail, Mike Matthews and Cameron Kane, who will be demonstrating their Hub Exchange app. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you everyone for sharing your time with me on this webinar. Let me briefly mention a little bit about ClickMail. We are an ExactTarget Platinum Certified Solutions provider. We've been helping companies optimize their email performance for over a decade by offering email marketing and technology services. So today, I'm happy to be talking about our latest innovation, eMVision. It's the ExactTarget Tableau integration. We all know how much data comes with creating email marketing campaigns. And while a lot of data is good to have, it really can be challenging for marketers like us to leverage that data in a meaningful and quick way. Let's look at those challenges further in a scenario that I think most of us can relate to. So in our scenario, Sarah is an email marketer for a large e-commerce company, and she deals with email data on a daily basis. Her VP is constantly asking her to put together a quick analysis for a meeting or provide insight on past campaign performance and how she can repeat it. The problem for Sarah is this. She can't find a quick way to get key metrics out of her data. Key metrics such as clicks by hour for all of her campaigns last month, or specific email volume for promotions or transactional emails versus her total send volume, or even correlate that data with her web traffic and her e-commerce site. This kind of analysis takes time, and she's going to have to put everything on hold for hours, if not days, to find that data, then analyze it, then create charts, and then share them with the people who need them. So now the problem is neither she nor anyone else on this webinar is ever given that much time. Usually we have a day or less, and we're left making assumptions and then wondering if those assumptions are correct. So for Sarah, one of the most frequent questions that she gets asked is, why did last week's email campaign perform better than the other campaign she created? Again, she has no way of easily blending that email data with her e-commerce data to find out if she has a complete picture. She doesn't even have a benchmark campaign to compare it to, and she's forced to make a lot of assumptions. So when Sarah is asked to duplicate the apparent success of that previous campaign, she worries she doesn't even know what the key metrics are. When she looks at the data, she's actually left with more questions than when she started. And she doesn't know if it was the subject line length, or if it was the customer segment, or the day of the week, or even the hour of the day that made it successful. Those unanswered questions are key. Having them doesn't give Sarah the ability or the confidence to move forward and create her next winning email campaign. So what's the solution? Well, I believe it's eMVision. In the same scenario, Sarah, empowered with eMVision, is able to quickly understand the answers or uncover the answers to her VP's questions. With eMVision, Sarah's able to pull together all the clicks by hour or clicks by send volume for all of her campaigns last month or for a specific month in minutes. And this is not just in aggregate via her web analytics tools, but by her specific customers based on their email address. Not only can she analyze that data quickly, but that data is intelligently transformed into beautiful dashboards. And they're easy to share with her VP or whomever needs them. So when her VP wants to find out why last week's email campaign performed better than another, eMVision can answer that. It does that by intuitively blending her email performance data with e-commerce, Google Analytics, social media data to provide a better picture of why her campaign succeeded. With eMVision, Sarah now sees that there was a social media promotion along with a specific email campaign to a targeted group of repeat customers. So now that she sees this, Sarah can ask her data even more questions. Questions like, what local time of day did my successful campaign get delivered? And how did the click rate and open rate compare? By performing that quick Q&A, Sarah now has all the information she needs. She can click on the less successful customer segment and immediately send that data back into ExactTarget. She can then retarget to that group with an email campaign that she knows will convert into increased sales. I mean, this is really important, and it has real consequences in improving business ROI and really helping people like Sarah increase her company's revenues and bottom line. It's a real time saver that helps marketers become more efficient and more successful. And in the case of Sarah, it helps her advance her own career as well. So what I'd like to jump into now is the product. And let me go ahead and get our screen share started. Okay, so I'm now sharing my desktop. And what we're looking at here is ExactTarget's IMH. IMH is the starting point and where the eMVision app is located once it's installed in your account. We simply click on the eMVision Tableau Analytics icon on the left-hand side, and it takes all of that data from ExactTarget and connects it to Tableau with a series of performance dashboards. So as this loads up, the first thing that we're going to take a look at is the performance dashboard for triggered sends. Now you'll notice on the left-hand side, we have triggered sends and batch sends. This is our email data coming out of ExactTarget, segmented by whether or not it was a triggered send, which is a specific email that, say, comes from a website or based on a trigger that is sending that email to a customer, or a batch send, which is a batch of emails that are sent out at a time. So what we're looking at is this triggered dashboard and the email performance graph within that dashboard. The email performance graph gives us a quick view into our opens, clicks, bounces, and send volume across a 90-day period. And by the way, what we're looking at here is actual real campaign data from an actual customer's live account. We have about 8 million records here. And over the course of the demonstration, I want you guys to keep note of how quickly we're loading in all of that data. So as we start to look at this chart here, things start to pop out to us. It's going to give us answers to how well or how poorly our email is performing. So in the example with Sarah, she can easily view her clicks and opens and bounces and send volume across this entire time frame. So as we look at it, we see here on the 10th, we've got something that stands out a bit from the consistent email volume that was sent over the past 90 days. So here we're seeing that we have quite a drastic change in the email volume that's sent on the 10th. And in doing so, we have a corresponding drop in our opens and clicks. Now as marketers, this is something we'd be interested in learning more about how or why this happened. And if we want to, we can select this data point or any other data points that we find interesting and send them back into a data extension within ExactTarget and giving it a unique name so that once we go into our ExactTarget account, we can actually find this data more quickly. So if we want to capture this customer segment, put it back into ExactTarget, and remarket to it or suppress it, we can do it in a few short clicks. So the next view that I'd like to take a look at is email health. And email health usually works in combination with the email performance dashboard. Within this dashboard, what we're looking at are a set of graphs, and the gray shows the performance over the last 30 days. The colored line allows you to quickly see the trends in the last 7 days and compare it to the last 30 days by looking at its relationship to the gray in the background. So in this scenario, we're able to very easily answer the question, are you doing better this week than you were the last 30 days? With eMVision, Sarah has the answer to these questions too. She can see trends that her send volume is going up, while her click rate is also trending up. But her unsubscribe rate is also trending up as well. So she could blend this email performance data with additional data such as e-commerce, CRM, and other data sources to get even more insights. So as long as that data is available to you in Tableau, you can do the blending within Tableau. And you can roll it up by the subscriber level or the campaign ID, and you really start to see not only how your email performance has been affected over the last 7 days or 30 days or 60 days, but how well that performance looks with website conversions, social media, and etc. So how well has our email performance compares across all campaigns? Well, that's something that we can also look at by taking a look at the campaign performance dashboard. So within this dashboard, Sarah can quickly compare her clicks, opens, and send volumes across all of her email sends. So when she has, once she has that information, she can answer the questions that her VP has. She can simply go to the dashboard and click on all or a selection of these campaigns, and then that data is presented to her right then and there. So what I want to remind everyone again is we're looking at real data here that's been updated within the last 24 hours. So there's a couple sends that I'd like to take a look at here to draw some comparisons against. And so within these 4 email sends, we're presented with the key metrics: our open rates, our click rates, our click-to-open rate, and our bounce rates. And we can take a look at this and determine whether or not there's any interesting data based on what we're trying to do in the next email send, or whether or not we want to figure out what might have been the problem with the previous email by taking a look at, we have a much lower bounce rate within our mobile welcome email than we do on, say, some other campaigns. Or this email, we even have a 0% bounce rate. So any one of these segments can be selected, and just as we did on our other graphs, select it, and send that data right back to a data extension with an exact target with a unique name. So another view that we have available to us is to look at our open rates by time. And again, we're still looking at our triggered data. And as we go through this dashboard, we can answer that age-old question: what is the best hour of the day, day of the week, or day of the month to send an email campaign? And by the way, we can also see how our opens compare with send volume. So you can see for this data, there's a higher open rate over here that correlates to a lower send volume. Send volume is the size of the circles in each one of these graphs. So you can see that while we have a lower send volume, we have a much higher open rate sending on this side on the earlier hours of the day. And then if we look at the open rate by weekday, we notice that Tuesday is probably a really bad day for this client to be sending emails out compared to the other days of the week. So with all of this data, we can select it and then choose to retarget back to exact target if we want to. But we can also go into these dashboards and edit them and provide more information that maybe we're not getting from these default dashboards. So to jump into edit mode, we look on the left-hand side in our menu over here, and we click on Edit Dashboard. And this takes us back into our administrative area where all of our dashboards are available for editing. So we'll do a quick search for the one that we were looking at, which was open rate by weekday. There it is. Go ahead and edit that dashboard. So now that we can edit this data, we can start to answer important questions or ask important questions and get answers fast. So here Sarah gets a request to find out when the campaign she sent out in the last 30 days were open. So to make this change, we add a dimension from our left-hand column, sent in the last 30 days. We add it to our filter, and we go ahead and remove our previous filter from there. And now the graph is showing us open rate by weekday for our email sends over the last 30 days. If we want to add additional dimensions, say her boss wanted to know how many opens they had on Tuesdays in the month of July, we can simply filter by month to get that answer. So we can go through and change our slider over here to get, we have to remove the last 30 days, and then put our click rate in there. Put that back, and then let's go ahead and open up our sent event date so that we can now filter it off the last 30 days. Go ahead and revert this graph so that we can bring it back. Anytime you go through the graph and you start making changes and you're not exactly sure that the changes are going to get you the answers you want, you can just click on revert and then go ahead and bring it back to its original state. So what we're going to do, if we want to see July, we want to bring our sent event date into our filter, and we can find that here on the left-hand side. Grab it here. There it is, sent event date. Bring it into our filter. Now that will update and give us the ability. One thing that we did here is we brought in our sent event date as a text column. This would allow me to type this in there and I can put it in there, but the easier way to do this is to bring in the actual date field, and then now it's a date that we can use that slider that I was talking about. So let's go ahead and go back to our original question, looking for all opens within July. Bring our slider to July 1st, and then bring our in slider to the 31st of July. And so now we're looking at the data for the month of July. We're looking at open rate here, and this is open rate by weekday. So you can see it's fairly quickly to go ahead and look at this data and change it to answer questions that you yourself or your VP or your boss might be asking you. So let's go back into our, we'll revert this. We could save this as another dashboard if we want to, or overwrite the one. But for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll go ahead and just bring it back to its original configuration. So let's go ahead and look at some of our batch data. And within the batch data, we're going to look at a workbook called Open Rate. So once this loads up, we'll go to our Open Rate workbook. And here we're looking at open rate compared to send volume. And within this dashboard, you can simply slide the slider to see an upper limit or a lower limit on the send volume that you're looking at. The size of the circles represents the send volume, and the intensity of the color represents the open rate. The darker the color, the higher the open rate percentage. So let's say Sarah's boss in the weekly marketing meeting ran out to ask Sarah to pull together some new information. Her boss wanted to see the best click-through campaigns with a send volume lower than 1,000. So that's not a problem. Again, we use our tool and slide over here on the left. You can actually go ahead and slide it down until it gets close, or just type in here 100,000 and hit return. And now we're looking at all of the sends that have a send volume of 100,000 or less. But let's say Sarah's asked another question, and she needs to get the best click rate for email sends, for send volume with less than 100,000 sends for all campaigns. So again, Sarah can easily pull this information together in a matter of minutes compared to hours or even days that she would have needed before she had eMVision. So we're going to go back in and edit this dashboard, and this is our open rate dashboard within the batch category. So here's our graph. Click on Edit. And so what we're trying to do in this one is we want to see the best click rates for email as opposed to the best open rate. So we have our click rates here representing the sizes of, the color of this circle, the intensity of the circle. So we're going to go ahead and find our click rate in our dimension here. And then we're going to go ahead and bring that into the color of the circle. As we do that, now we can see our click rate. If we wanted to see click to open rate, we can slide that into the color of the circle as well. And now that is our, that's the intensity of the color, and that represents the click rate. So you can see how Sarah's VP would be really impressed at how quickly she can put this together. And for Sarah, she'll feel great being able to deliver this report right on the fly when she's asked. We'll revert this one, close our dashboard, and then go back. And we're going to take a look at another performance plot, workbook called Performance Plot. So another way to look at Sarah's campaign data is through this performance plot. She can quickly look at outliers based on averages and opens and clicks for all of her campaigns. So what we're looking at here are all the campaigns, but we can easily select a few. And as we do that, you'll notice that the averages, the open rate average and the click rate averages, change based on the number of data points that we have on the graph. So if we want to analyze a specific group of email sends, by selecting them all on the graph, we can see that we have some higher performing but low send volume sends indicated as above the open rate line, or we have this one that is much higher performing on the click-through rate average. But we have these two down here that are underperforming both the open rate average and the click rate average. And if we wanted to go through and segment this or suppress this group of sends, we can do everything that we've done before and select that, save the subscriber to a data extension, and then give that data extension a unique name so we can use it as we see fit. So all of these insights are great, but they're also actionable, which really gives them the ability to do things for you and you be able to answer questions. It helps Sarah know what she can do the next time and how she can build winning campaigns that can make her job easier, her boss happier, and help increase her company's revenue. So the last thing that I want to take a look at for everyone, one more graph after this, but I want to take a look at a new graph that we've been developing that helps blend demographics data. And here what we're doing is charting our email performance by state. So in this graph that we've recently developed, we take outside demographics data from an e-commerce engine and blend it with the ExactTarget email performance. So in our scenario, if Sarah wanted to target a specific state with a campaign, she could easily look at the historical performance and then quickly find the best states by open rate or click rate or click to open rate. So here from this data, you can see that for a majority of our states, the open rate is fairly constant. But we have some underperforming states in Wyoming and North Dakota and South Dakota. And if we wanted to select those states and suppress them or retarget to them with a more engaging campaign, we could do so by sending this back to a data extension. So the last one that I wanted to look at here is our subject line performance. I'm going to go ahead and look at this within our triggered data. We'll go back to that. And get back to our subject line performance. So looking at the campaign performance by subject line, it's important to understand how to take action for the next campaign. You can take a look at the clicks and the opens around the subject line length, the color representing the clicks, and the height of the bar representing the opens. So with this graph, we can take a look at it and challenge some schools of thought that say that shorter subject lines are better. And with this client's data, it shows that there are high opens around the 33 character length. But down around 19 characters, we have almost just the same amount of open rate percentage, but our click-through rate is much higher, indicated by the darker color for the line. So all of these dashboards that I've shown you here today come included with the product. They're easily customizable by not only us, but also by you. So with that, what I'd like to do is open up this webinar to some questions and take some questions if you have them.
Thanks, Mike. We're now going to begin answering some of the questions submitted during today's presentation. As a reminder, you can submit your questions through the Q&A box of your console. If you are following along on Twitter, you can tweet us your questions using the hashtag #ETWebinar. Mike, our first question is, can I look at data in one graph and change the look of that graph, or am I locked into that first view?
So that's a good question. I'm going to go ahead and take control back, and I'll show you how we do this with one of the workbooks and graphs that we looked at previously. So if you remember, we were looking at our batch graph with open rate, and that was the one with all the circles and the colors. Let's bring it up so that we can see it here. Open rate. So if we want to edit this one and maybe present it in a different format, we didn't like the circles for whatever reason. We can click on Edit Dashboard, go back into our administrative section. Once that loads up, we'll go and find our open rate graph. There it is. Edit. And simply from the interface that we have in our administrative section, we can change it to any graph that we want. So we didn't like the circles. Let's do something a little bit more boxy. Maybe it fits with the presentation that we're giving. And simply select the Show Me and select that. And now we're showing this in a more boxy format as opposed to the circles. That lets us see a little bit more information. But good question.
All right. Thank you. Our next question is, can you compare subject line length with specific campaigns?
You can. So we're going to go ahead and revert this graph, and we'll go ahead and pull open our subject line length workbook. Let's open this back up. So what we need to do in this scenario is we need to add another component to the graph that we have. So let's find our subject line length. And we'll do it for our batch. We were looking at triggered, so let's do it with triggered. Bring it open, edit that. And so if we want to look at it with regard to specific campaigns, what we want to do is add that as a filter to our graph. So we'll go ahead and look for the email name here. We've got our email name and our dimension. We'll drag that up into our filters. And as we do that, we now have the ability to select our campaigns and show the subject line performance for those specific campaigns. So depending on what you're looking at, depending on what campaigns you're interested in, you can plot just those specific subject lines on this graph and see that data as well. All right, do we have any other questions?
It looks like we are running over already, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. But if you have submitted a question and it hasn't been answered yet, rest assured that Mike or I will follow up with you individually after today's webinar. If you enjoyed today's webinar and would like to attend other ExactTarget webinars, you can visit exacttarget.com/webinars. And remember, you will be receiving an email tomorrow with a link to today's recorded webinar. On behalf of the ExactTarget webinar series and our presenters, I'd like to thank you for joining us today and have a great rest of your day.